Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Preston M. Smith. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm Preston M. Smith, at PMS Artwork everywhere on internet land and socials. I want to thank you for landing on this podcast. Whether you're a professional artist, just getting started in the art world, a collector of art, or just consider yourself a creative person, this podcast has something for you. I like to think of it as a fun way to rant and talk to other creative people about living the life of an artist, surviving and getting ahead in the art world, and enjoying your life. But most importantly, not waiting until you're dead to make it happen. All right, let's get started.
Persol and Verilux are teaming up for the ideal eyewear fit, combining timeless design with progressive lenses. Iconic style meets unparalleled vision performance, making the extraordinary effortless. Discover Verilux and Persol and find your local Essilor expert at Essilor.com.
Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the continuation of the Living Artist Podcast.
Yes, indeed, the continuation is upon us. You might not find that funny, but Mags and I always watch Hell's Kitchen, and they always do, and now for the continuation of Hell's Kitchen. So you might hear in my voice a little bit of a difference and a little low energy, and I'm kind of doing this podcast going against my doctor's and wife's and probably my own better judgment. But you know what? I made a commitment to do this podcast, and I like to honor that, and I want to always bring new content. And, in the spirit of that, I'm going to push through this, and we are going to keep going, keep the ball rolling. And I might do no edits on this one, or limited edits at very least, just to save some energy. But just to stay real, we're going to do some real talk right now, some real talk, just to keep it real with you guys, as I always like to do, and also to stay in what the life of an artist actually is, warts and all. Sometimes you get some bad stuff. Many of you probably know I've been going through some problems for 4 years, and I've tried to kind of keep some of the details away from that. But I did have an MRI, big full body MRI that my wife and I paid for out of pocket because the doctors kind of dropped the ball. And then ironically, I ended up in the ER over the weekend, and they wanted to do an MRI. So go figure. But anyway, I started to have these weird, on top of my other crap that I've been dealing with, I started to have these crazy episodes where I would just start vibrating and shaking and almost lose consciousness. And just really get this depersonalization feeling, and it would just zap me of all my energy. And I started having that every day. And then the last day, on Saturday, I believe, I had one during the middle of the day with my wife when we were out getting groceries and doing errands. And I was kind of debilitated by it. And when I finally got some energy, we went to urgent care, and they prescribed some steroids for some inflammation. And I was, waiting for the next morning to take that, because you're supposed to take it in the morning. And that night I had a horrible attack at 1 a.m, and the ambulance had to come. And I spent the better part of the weekend in the ER, which has, through all the stuff that I've been doing, I've never actually had an ambulance have to come to my house. And it was pretty terrifying. But my beautiful wife was there with me, and we got through it. And now they're running some tests and more tests, and we're trying to figure out what's going on. But I just thought, I would keep it honest with you all. Sometimes I just wait for a moment where I have some energy to do the podcast, and I just, push through and stuff. But right now I'm not going to be high energy, obviously. So I just figured I would do this in my current state and be honest with everybody out there, because who knows who it's going to affect, and who knows what else is going on in your lives, and everybody has to deal with that stuff at some point. And also, it does factor into the life of an artist. And I wanted to kind of segue a little bit into that today, talking about being prepared for anything. I had some conditioning that really worked to my advantage over this weekend and into today. I actually have a painting being picked up today, going to a different part of California. And I was going to wait for the weekend to do it. And, because it's a kind of a difficult painting to package up. And I was going to wait for this weekend to do it, maybe get a little help from my wife. Sometimes she'll help me out on the weekends. And instead, I just kind of pushed through on Friday and I got it done. And it was a complicated one, but I just had it ready to go. And it turns out that had I not done that, I would never have gotten this painting packaged by today for the pickup time. And, a collector might have been upset or disappointed at the very least. And I know people understand things happen, but I also like to be very efficient in my art career. I actually reached out to the collector. He had emailed me, and I reached out to the collector from my ER bed and communicated with him, and he was really nice about everything. But anyway, we're going through with that, and we're going forward. But that's all about being prepared. I had a lot of training in getting pieces out, and kind of when I was trying to get to a point where I was going to be a full-time artist, I really wanted to be efficient, almost like I was a factory or like I was my own, shipping service or something. And I always wanted to communicate well. I always wanted to be efficient. I wanted to get things out to people, and I wanted to always be prepared and get stuff out quickly to people. And I have tried to do that, just like I tried to do with the podcast, come hell or high water. And, I'm proud of that. It's something that I like to do. Now, that doesn't mean everybody out there has to do the same thing. It's just an example of something you can do. You can try to be as fast and efficient, but you can also just do things where you set expectations differently. That's part of being prepared as well. You can set expectations to have a longer shipping time. You can tell people, look, my shipping time runs 7 days, or 7 to 10 business days. That is a long window, but you could do it. You could do, 3 to 5. I typically do 1 to 2, and most of the time I get mine out in the first day. And that's just the way I like to run. It is stressful sometimes. And, that can have its own side effects, obviously, if you're too stressed out. Case in point, me. But you have to figure that out on your own. You have to figure out what works for you, what works best for your business, what works best for the clientele and, the collectors. Kind of find a middle ground, find one that everybody's happy with, one that you can do, that you can manage, that you can be consistent with. And I'm all about consistency. So whatever you set, whatever expectations you set for being consistent and following through on that, that's what you should be trying to do. So that's also part of being prepared, is setting expectations. Now, if you're selling a lot online, like I do, there are different art marketplaces and they all have different expectations. And you should set those expectations, and tailor them to each art marketplace as well. So for example, Art Finder, I think they have changed this now, so you can do like a holiday mode as well. I believe they do have a holiday mode, but when I was starting out there, I would go based on shipping time. I would say, well, these ship out in 2 days, right? And then if I knew something was happening, or I knew I was going to be out of town for a weekend, or if I knew whatever, I was not doing well or something, I would change the shipping table to be like 4 to 5 days. So it'd give me a little bit of a cushion so I could get stuff done still within that time that I projected and get it out to people. And then, so there's like Saatchi, they have a holiday section where you can just put it on holiday mode and you just click that. It just sets everybody's expectations. They can still see your work. They can still view your shop. But if they want to purchase something, they know that you're in holiday mode. It's not going to be coming right away, because there's nothing worse for a collector than going, oh, I want this piece and I'm really excited about it. And I want this here by next week. I'm, going out of town for a month on business and I want this to be here. And then you find out that the artist is not around, or even worse, your painting has already been sold or your artwork has already been sold and you didn't update your art marketplace. That's another aspect of being prepared. So make sure you go to all different art marketplaces and, set expectations differently, whether that be holiday mode or shipping times, shipping tables, all that stuff. And like I just mentioned, make sure you're constantly updating your profile. That means if I sell a piece, sometimes it's part of a diptych too. So I have to go and I have to find sometimes 2 or 3 different pieces that I have to mark as sold. And then I have to do that on like 7 marketplaces and my website and then social media. So people know that this piece is gone. It's no longer available. And then they can move on to another piece, because you will lose or potentially lose a collector if you have a piece that's up there that they think is available and they're really excited about it. And then you find out 2 days later after the purchase, oh, you know what? This piece is no longer available. I've never, knock on wood, listen to that sound effect. I've never had that happen. I'm not saying that would never happen or it could never happen. There's always some extenuating circumstances that could happen that could make that be a reality. But to this day, 600 and whatever, 40 sales in, I haven't had that happen. So that's something just to keep in your mind and be aware of. If you're going to treat this like a professional business and you're going to try to operate like a business, that is something you want to keep in mind, is having things updated, having shipping tables, holiday modes updated, having customer expectations updated, being prepared on your end, not getting so backlogged with your work or having so many things in your studio that you have to get to that all of a sudden you're buried and you're behind and you're not prepared. And all of a sudden you're out of materials and then people have to wait longer and then you get more stressed out and so on and so forth. You can see where I'm going with this, but that's kind of it. I wanted to update you first of all, let you know why this podcast might sound a little different than the other ones, and update you on what's going on in my life and how I'm kind of trying to push through and do these things. But that, brings me to one last thing that
eBay Motors is here for the ride. With over 122 million parts, you can make sure your number one ride or die stays running smoothly. Brake kits, LED headlights, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply.
Earning your degree online doesn't mean you have to go about it alone. At Capella University, we're here to support you when you're ready. From enrollment counselors who get to know you and your goals, to academic coaches who can help you form a plan to stay on track. We care about your success and are dedicated to helping you pursue your goals. Going back to school is a big step, but having support at every step of your academic journey can make a big difference. Imagine your future differently at capella.edu.
I want to mention as far as being prepared. I have my wonderful wife with me, and I do most of my stuff on my own. The podcast, the editing, the creation, the studio time, the shipping, you name it, the marketing, the social media. I do all that stuff on my own. But my wife is available, and she's always said to me, look, if you need me to get something out for you, I will. And I've never had to use her for that yet, but it is something that's important to have and to think about. If you are sick for some reason, let's say something like this happens, you get put in the hospital like I was, and you can't deal with something and you can't, fulfill an order or whatever. Yes, you can communicate with the person and tell them and hope that they're understanding, but you can also have a person, whether that's a friend or a studio assistant, if you have the resources for that, or a significant other, girlfriend, boyfriend, anything like that, a parent, somebody that could maybe have the keys to your studio and come in and fulfill that for you. So that means showing them sometime how to do these things, how you like your things to be packaged up. Have them come and do it with you one time. When you do it a couple times, it's kind of fun. Doing it hundreds of times, it gets monotonous. But if you show them and you participate with them, it's kind of a fun experience to do with somebody else and to show them how to do it, because chances are they've never packaged a painting or a piece of artwork before. So it's kind of a new experience for them. And then they will know how to do it. They'll know what your specifications are, what you expect, and what a collector expects if they're getting a piece from you. They like a note. They like a handwritten note. They like it to be packaged so on and so forth, like with the corners protected, with the foam on the top, packaged in a certain type of box, certain type of tape, so it's protected. Fragile stickers and everything, all the bells and whistles that you use when you're packaging up an artwork. They will know that. So if worse comes to worse, they can come into your studio and fulfill an order for you. So that's part of being prepared as well. I know this is not the most fun episode, but it's something we all have to think about at some point, and it's something that we're all going to encounter multiple times in our careers and in our lives. Things happen, shit happens, and you have to roll with it. And you have to make sure that you're still keeping your business going, your business afloat, and keeping your art reputation going, because that's important. And, just communicate with people. That's always the best thing to do. So hopefully you found this helpful. I just tried to power through this. This is no edits so far. I might put a couple in here, but yeah, thanks for bearing with me on this episode, and hoping I'm going to be feeling better on the next episode, and it will be a little bit more lively, bring you some more energy for that, a little more fun, and a little bit more humor as well. Thanks for listening. I hope everybody's doing well out there. Take care of yourselves, take care of everybody else, and focus on being prepared in your life and in your art. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
And now, the conclusion of the Living Artist Podcast. Wait a minute. I don't even know what that means. Screw this. I don't even like narrating.
This has been the Living Artist Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I just want you to know that I appreciate you being here, and I'm grateful to be in your ears. Your art and creative life on this planet is meaningful, so thank you for sharing it with me. If you like this podcast, whatever platform you're listening to it on, please subscribe and share it with your friends. You can also leave me a positive review to show your support. This helps me to reach more people with the algorithmic magic and keep the show going strong. If you want to see more of what I do and check out the art that I create, you can visit my website at www.pmsartwork.com or follow me on social media everywhere at PMS Artwork. That's it for now. See you back here next time.